A millionaire slammed the brakes. His heart sank. There, right in front of his house, stood his little boy. Tears in his eyes, dust on his face, two heavy suitcases dragging behind him. What happened before this moment? It's something that will break your heart and stay with you forever. Let's go back. The boy's name was Ethan. His tiny hands gripped two brown suitcases so tightly, his knuckles were pale. His cheeks were stained with tears that had mixed with dirt, carving little rivers down his face. "Out! I said get out!" The woman's sharp voice echoed through the still countryside. It wasn't just loud, it was cruel. Ethan's bottom lip quivered. He turned around and looked back at the wooden house one more time. He was hoping, maybe even silently begging, that the woman would soften, that she'd remember this house wasn't just hers. It was his father's too. And that meant it was his. But her expression twisted in disgust. She jabbed her finger toward the road. "You don't belong here," she snapped. "Go back to your grandmother. This isn't your home anymore." It wasn't always like this. 2 years ago, when his mother passed away, Ethan had gone to live with his grandmother. Her cottage was small but warm, safe. His father, a successful businessman, visited when he could. He'd bring gifts, tell stories about the world outside their quiet valley, and give Ethan the warmest hugs. Sometimes, Ethan would walk for hours, just to surprise his dad at this house. His father would always laugh and scoop him into his arms. "My boy, you came to see me again," he'd say. But this time, something was different. His father had left a month ago on a long business trip, and he left this woman in charge of the house. Ethan didn't know her well. She had smiled when his father left, but the moment his car vanished down the road, her smile did too. Ethan felt alone, unwanted. So, that morning, he made a decision. "I'll surprise Daddy," he whispered to himself as he packed a small bag. "He'll be happy to see me." He walked a long way. His shoes were covered in dust. His legs ached. But he made it. When he knocked on the door, the woman answered. Her smile didn't return. "What are you doing here?" she asked coldly. "I came to see my dad," Ethan replied quietly. "He's not here." "I know, but I thought I could wait for him, please." "No." She stepped in front of the door. "You're not welcome here. Your father left me in charge. I say you go back where you came from." Ethan's chest felt tight. "But I'm his son," the woman sneered. "His son? Look at you, filthy, just like your mother." That hit harder than a slap. "I'll be good," Ethan whispered. "I won't touch anything. I'll just wait in his room." She didn't listen. Instead, she shoved him, hard. Ethan stumbled, scraping his hand on the wooden porch. He stared at her with wide, wet eyes. "You're no better than the servants here," she said. "Take your things and leave before he comes back." His legs felt like jelly, but he stood. He didn't even make it inside. With shaky hands, he picked up his bags. "Where will I go?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. "Back to your grandmother. She's the only one who wants you." Tears blurred his eyes. He turned and began walking through the yard, each step heavier than the last. What the woman didn't know was that Ethan's father was already on his way back. His car rolled onto the dirt road. Gravel crunched under the tires. He was excited. It had been weeks since he'd seen his son. He had gifts in the trunk, and stories to share. He couldn't wait. But the moment he saw his little boy in the middle of the lawn, all that excitement turned to horror. He hit the brakes. His heart dropped. "Ethan!" The boy froze. His tear-streaked face turned slowly. "Daddy," he whispered. The woman on the porch stiffened. She saw the car. Her face went pale. The father's name was Marcus. His eyes flicked between his crying son and the woman, and something sharp and cold began rising in his chest. "Daddy!" Ethan cried, his voice cracking. He pointed toward the porch. She said I don't belong here. She said you didn't want me." Marcus's jaw clenched. The woman stepped forward. "Marcus, I can explain." "You'd better," he said, his voice dangerously low. "I didn't mean harm," she stammered. "I thought it was best if he stayed with his grandmother. He showed up unannounced, dragged dirt all over the house. I was just trying to keep order, that's all." Marcus's eyes blazed. "Order?" he repeated. "You think throwing my child out like a servant is order?" She hesitated. "He's just a child. He doesn't understand how this house works." "No," Marcus said, his voice rising. "You don't understand. This is his home, not yours, not even mine. His." She tried to speak, but he cut her off. "You've shown me who you really are, and there is no place for someone like that in my life." Then he turned to Ethan, his expression softening. He knelt in the grass. "Come here, son." Ethan stood frozen for a moment, then ran into his father's arms. Marcus held him tightly, burying his face in his little boy's shoulder. "I'm so sorry," he whispered. "You should never have been treated like that. You're my son. You will always belong with me." Ethan sobbed. But for the first time in weeks, they weren't tears of fear. They were tears of relief. Marcus stood, lifting Ethan into his arms. He looked back at the woman. "Pack your things. You're leaving today." Her mouth dropped open. You can't be serious. You're lucky I'm not calling the police." She tried to speak again, but he turned away. The chauffeur, who had seen everything, stepped forward. "Sir," he said quietly, "I wanted to stop her, but she threatened to fire me if I said a word." Marcus nodded. "You've worked for me for years. I know your heart. You did nothing wrong." As the woman rushed inside to pack her bags, Marcus carried Ethan through the front door. The boy looked around nervously. "Will you send me back to Grandma's?" he asked. Marcus knelt again, holding Ethan's shoulders. "Listen to me carefully. You will never be sent away from me again. This is your home. You're my son. No one, and I mean no one, has the right to take that away." That evening, after the woman's car disappeared down the road, Marcus and Ethan sat by the fireplace. The boy was wrapped in a blanket. He sipped warm cocoa while his father gently brushed the dirt off his hands. "You're safe now," Marcus whispered. "And tomorrow, we'll make this place feel like home again, for both of us." For the first time in a long while, Marcus felt peace, because in that moment, he knew one truth. No amount of money in the world could ever mean more than the boy asleep in his arms. That night, the house was quiet. No angry footsteps, no cold voices, just the soft crackle of the fireplace and the slow, steady breathing of a little boy curled up on the couch. Marcus sat nearby, watching his son sleep. The light from the fire danced across Ethan's face, softening the shadows that worry had carved into his young features. For the first time in a long time, Marcus felt something unfamiliar. Guilt. He had thought leaving Ethan with his grandmother would keep him safe. He thought hiring someone to take care of the house was the responsible thing to do, but now he saw the truth. He had left his boy, and in doing so, left him vulnerable. Marcus stood up quietly and walked over to a photo on the shelf. It was of Ethan, taken 2 years ago, the same summer they'd gone to the lake as a family. Ethan had been all smiles then, his tiny teeth missing in places, a fishing rod in his hand, his mom by his side. Marcus touched the frame gently, a storm building behind his eyes. "I'm sorry," he whispered. Not to the photo, not to the past, but to the boy sleeping behind him. The next morning, Ethan woke up to the smell of pancakes. His eyes fluttered open. For a moment, he forgot where he was. Then he saw the blanket tucked around him, the glow of sunlight through the windows, and the sound of someone, his father, humming from the kitchen. He sat up slowly. "Good morning, buddy," Marcus called from behind the stove. "Hope you're hungry?" Ethan blinked. "You're cooking?" Marcus smiled. "Trying to. It's not great, but I'm learning." Ethan shuffled over to the table. His body still felt heavy, but there was something new inside his chest. A small spark, like maybe, just maybe, things would be okay. Marcus placed a plate in front of him. Slightly burnt pancakes, but pancakes nonetheless. "Is this breakfast?" Ethan asked. "Let's call it Dad's attempt at breakfast," Marcus said with a chuckle. Ethan laughed. A real one, short, but genuine. They ate together in comfortable silence. No screens, no phones. Just a father and a son rebuilding something that had once been broken. Later that day, Marcus made another decision. He called in from work, postponed his meetings, canceled a conference call with clients who wouldn't take no for an answer. Because today, nothing was more important than this little boy. They spent the day painting the spare room, not because it needed a new color, but because Ethan had always wanted a blue room, like the sky. "So I can fall asleep pretending I'm flying," he said. And so, with blue paint smudged on their noses and hands, they turned white walls into a canvas of dreams. By evening, the room looked like something out of a storybook. And so did Ethan. His cheeks were flushed with joy, his hair messy from laughter, his hands sticky with paint and chocolate from the cupcakes they baked, burnt, just like the pancakes. As the sun set, Marcus sat beside Ethan on the edge of the bed. "This is nice," Ethan said softly. "It is," Marcus replied, brushing the boy's hair back. "And it's just the beginning." "But what if she comes back?" Marcus paused. "She won't," he said firmly. "She doesn't live here anymore." Ethan nodded, though a flicker of doubt still lingered in his eyes. Marcus noticed. He got up, walked to his bedroom, and came back with something small in his hand. "This," he said, holding out a silver key, "is yours." Ethan looked up. "Mine?" "This key opens the front door. You have one now, because this is your home. Always." Ethan took the key slowly, as if it might disappear if he moved too fast. Then he gripped it tightly. "I can come home whenever I want?" "You never have to leave in the first place." That night, Marcus stayed by Ethan's side until the boy drifted to sleep. The blue ceiling above them now felt like the sky he had always dreamed of. In the days that followed, the house slowly transformed. The cold silence was replaced with music, laughter, board games that lasted way too long, and late-night snacks they didn't tell anyone about. Ethan started drawing again, filling pages with superheroes, rockets, and sometimes just him and his dad, side by side. Marcus put those drawings on the fridge, not just because they were cute, but because every single one reminded him why he got up every morning. Because money could buy paintings, but not moments like this. One afternoon, as they sat in the backyard watching the sunset, Ethan leaned his head on his father's shoulder. "Do you still have to go on trips?" Marcus looked at him, thought carefully. "Sometimes, yes, but not as many, and never without telling you where I'm going, or who's going to be here with you." Ethan nodded. "And never with someone who doesn't love me?" "Never again." The promise was simple, but to Ethan, it meant everything, and to Marcus, it meant redemption, because he had learned something life never taught in boardrooms or on private jets. Success isn't about the house. It's about who waits for you inside it. That little boy, who once stood on the lawn with suitcases in hand, no longer feared being unwanted. Now, every room in that house echoed with his laughter. And every heartbeat in Marcus's chest beat with one purpose only: to never let him down again. Each morning started with pancakes, less burnt now, and each night ended with Marcus reading Ethan's favorite stories until he fell asleep mid-sentence. The house had changed. So had Ethan. But healing isn't a straight line, and sometimes the past comes knocking in the quiet moments. One Sunday evening, as they were organizing a box of old toys, Ethan held up a stuffed lion, its ear torn, its mane faded. "This was Mom's favorite," he said softly. Marcus looked up from across the room. He recognized the toy immediately. His heart ached. "She said it looked brave," Ethan added, "even when it was small." Marcus knelt down beside him. "You know what?" he said. "She was right." Ethan stared at the lion. "I don't feel brave." Marcus placed a hand on his son's shoulder. "But you are. Brave doesn't mean you're never scared. It means you keep going anyway." Ethan nodded slowly, as if trying to believe it. Later that night, Marcus sat alone on the porch. The stars were out, but his mind was heavy. He had money, power. But none of it mattered when his son still flinched at a raised voice, or hesitated before entering a room, just in case he wasn't welcome. He pulled out his phone and made a call. Not to an assistant, not to a business partner, but to someone he hadn't spoken to in years. His sister. She picked up after 2 rings. "Marcus?" He cleared his throat. "Hey, Jenna, do you still know that therapist for kids, the one you told me about last Christmas?" Silence on the other end. Then gently, "Yes. Her name's Dr. Rivera. Why?" Marcus stared into the night. "I think Ethan's ready, and I want to do this right." That decision, that one quiet moment, set off something bigger than Marcus could have imagined. The following week, Ethan started therapy. At first he was quiet, polite, careful with his words. But Dr. Rivera had a gift. She didn't ask, "How are you?" She asked, "What color do you feel today?" And somehow that made it easier. By the 3rd session, Ethan said, "I feel gray," but with a little blue. Like when the rain stops, but the sun hasn't come out yet. Dr. Rivera smiled. "That's called hopeful." Meanwhile, Marcus was preparing Ethan for something even bigger, going back to school. It had been months since Ethan sat in a classroom. He was nervous, anxious even. What if they asked why he'd been gone? What if they laughed at him? "What if they say I'm weird?" Ethan whispered one night before bed. Marcus tucked the blanket under his chin. "Then they're not your people." But what if I have no people? Marcus leaned in. Then we'll find them together. And the very next morning, Ethan stood in front of the mirror, his backpack slung over his shoulder, his shoes tied in double knots. He looked at himself, then at his dad. Do I look okay? Marcus knelt beside him. You look brave. That morning, Marcus drove him to school himself. He parked the car, took Ethan's hand, and walked him right to the front gate. Want me to walk you in? He asked. Ethan shook his head. I think I got it. He turned, took 2 steps, then stopped, ran back, and hugged Marcus so tightly it knocked the air from his chest. I'll be right here when school's over, Marcus promised. Ethan nodded. Promise. Always. The hours crawled. Marcus sat in the car, refreshing the clock, counting the minutes. When the final bell rang, he was already waiting outside the gate. Ethan came out last, but his face was glowing. I made a friend, he said, practically skipping to the car. Marcus raised an eyebrow. Just one? Well, 3, Ethan grinned. But one gave me a cookie, so I think he wins. Marcus laughed. He hadn't laughed like that in weeks. As they drove home, Ethan talked the whole way. About art class. About a kid named Tyler who liked space. About a girl named Mia who told the funniest jokes. And in that car, on that drive, Marcus felt something settle deep inside him. This was life. Real life. Not boardrooms, not fancy events, not headlines, but a child's first good day after a storm. That evening, Marcus received an unexpected email. It was from his company's board of directors. He had been nominated for a national award, Business Leader of the Year. It was a big deal. He should have felt proud. But instead, he stared at the screen, then turned to Ethan, who was now drawing rockets and lions on the kitchen table. Marcus clicked decline. Because tonight, his title wasn't CEO. It was Dad. And that was the only title that mattered. It had been 2 months since Ethan returned home. 2 months of blue-painted skies on bedroom ceilings, of quiet therapy sessions where he painted his feelings instead of naming them. 2 months of Marcus being present. Not just at the dinner table, but in every moment that mattered. One Saturday morning, the house felt different. Lighter, brighter. The kind of day when the sun doesn't just rise, it wraps around everything like a warm hug. Ethan was humming in the living room, a small tune, off-key, but so full of joy that it made Marcus pause in the hallway just to listen. What's that song? Marcus asked, stepping into the room. Ethan grinned and shrugged. I made it up. Well, it's pretty good, Marcus said, sitting beside him. Might be the next big hit. Ethan giggled. Then, without a word, he reached under the couch and pulled out something wrapped in newspaper. What's this? Ethan held it out shyly. A gift, he whispered. For you. Marcus blinked. But it's not my birthday. I know, but I wanted to say, thank you for everything. He handed it over slowly, as if it carried something delicate. Marcus unwrapped the paper. It was a drawing. But not just any drawing. It was a house. Their house. And in front of it, 2 stick figures, one tall, one small, holding hands. Above them, a sky full of stars and a bright yellow sun in the corner. In crayon, Ethan had written, My Real Home. Marcus stared at it for a long time, not because it was drawn perfectly, but because it wasn't. The colors spilled over the lines. The proportions were off. But the message? It was loud, clear, and beautiful. He swallowed the lump in his throat. "Can I keep this forever?" he asked. Ethan nodded, eyes wide. Marcus stood up, crossed the room, and took down a painting above the fireplace. It had cost him thousands, but it didn't belong there anymore. In its place, he pinned the drawing. It was crooked, and it crinkled from where Ethan had pressed too hard with the crayons. But to Marcus, it was the most priceless thing he owned. Later that week, something shifted. Ethan came home from school quieter than usual. He dropped his bag by the door, walked straight to the couch, and curled up into a ball. Marcus noticed instantly. "Hey, rough day?" he asked, sitting beside him. Ethan didn't answer right away. He stared at the floor, his fingers gripping the edge of the cushion. "Someone said I was rich now," he finally mumbled. Marcus tilted his head. "Okay. And how did that feel?" Ethan shrugged. "Weird. Like maybe they liked me just because of that." Marcus stayed silent. He let the moment breathe. "I don't want people to like me because of your money," Ethan added. "I want them to like me." That hit Marcus harder than any boardroom betrayal ever had. He leaned forward. "Then let them see who you are, not what you have." "But what if they don't?" "Then they were never your people." Ethan looked up. "Like you said before?" "Exactly." Silence stretched between them for a moment. Then Marcus said something he had never told anyone. "When I first made money, I thought it would fix everything." Ethan listened closely. "I thought it would make people like me, respect me. I thought it would protect me." "Did it?" Ethan asked. Marcus shook his head. "It only made it harder to know who was real. But then you came into my life, and I realized none of it matters if you don't have someone to laugh with, someone to sit with when you're scared, someone to draw you a picture with stars in the sky." Ethan's lips curled into a small smile. "I'm glad I came back," he whispered. "I'm glad you did too." The next day, something unexpected happened. A letter arrived in the mail. Not a bill, not business. A handwritten envelope, old-fashioned, no return address. Marcus opened it. Inside was a folded piece of paper. No greeting, no signature. Just a few simple words. "Children don't heal where they were broken." Marcus stared at the sentence. A chill ran down his spine. Who had sent this? And why now? He showed it to no one. Not even Ethan. But that night, after Ethan had gone to bed, Marcus took out the letter again. He read it over and over, and while the message was clear, the intention wasn't. Was it a warning? Or a challenge? Marcus looked toward Ethan's bedroom door. The boy was healing, smiling more, laughing again. But the scars, emotional, quiet, and hidden, were still there. Marcus knew one thing for certain. Healing takes time, and love, and patience. But it also takes protection. Real protection. So the next morning, Marcus made another call. He hired a private security consultant. Not because he felt threatened, but because his instincts were stirring. He didn't know who sent the letter, but he wasn't taking chances. Because If there was even a shadow from the past trying to sneak back in, he'd be ready. Days passed, then weeks. The letter remained tucked inside Marcus's drawer, folded, untouched, but never forgotten. He never told Ethan about it. Some truths, he believed, should wait for the right moment, or perhaps never come at all. Ethan, on the other hand, had blossomed in a way Marcus hadn't expected. His drawings now filled the refrigerator. His laughter rang through every hallway. He danced when music played. He hummed while brushing his teeth. And every night, he placed that old stuffed lion, the one his mother once loved, beside his pillow. Still torn, still faded, still brave. One rainy afternoon, Ethan came home from school carrying something new, a certificate. Marcus raised an eyebrow. "What's this?" Ethan held it up proudly. "It's for bravery." Marcus read the words carefully. "For standing up for another student, showing kindness and courage beyond your years." His eyes stung. "What happened?" he asked gently. "There's a new kid," Ethan explained. "Everyone was teasing him because he didn't speak much. So I sat with him. And now he talks to me every day." Marcus didn't say a word. He just pulled Ethan into a hug. No speeches, no life lessons, just quiet pride. The kind that fills your chest without needing to be spoken aloud. Later that week, Marcus got a call from a number he didn't recognize. He hesitated, then answered. "Hello?" There was silence on the other end. Then a voice, familiar, soft, a little nervous. "I didn't think you'd pick up." Marcus's spine straightened. "Who is this?" "It's me, Angela." It took him a moment. The woman. The one who had once stood on his porch. The one who had pointed her finger and said Ethan didn't belong. His tone turned cold. "Why are you calling?" "I just wanted to say I'm sorry," she said. "I was wrong. About everything." Marcus stayed quiet. "I saw the news," she continued. "About the award you turned down. About the work you're doing for child welfare. I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but I wanted you to know. I'm getting help. I'm trying to change." Marcus exhaled slowly. He didn't say he forgave her, but he didn't hang up either. "Good," he said. "Get help. Not for me. Not for Ethan. For yourself." Then he ended the call. No anger. Just peace. Some wounds, he had learned, don't need revenge. They just need closure. 1 month later, on a chilly autumn evening, Marcus surprised Ethan with something unexpected. A framed display. Inside it, the crumpled drawing Ethan once gave him, and beside it, the bravery certificate. But in the center, between them, Marcus placed something else. The letter. The mysterious one. The one that had haunted him for weeks. Ethan tilted his head. "You saved this?" Marcus nodded. "I did. Because it reminded me of something." "What?" "That children don't heal where they were broken, but they can heal where they're loved." Ethan smiled. "That's here, right?" Marcus knelt beside him. "No, that's you." He tapped Ethan's chest gently. "You are the reason this place is home. Not the walls, not the roof, just you." That night, Ethan fell asleep with the lion in one arm, and a quiet confidence wrapped around him like a blanket. Outside, the wind danced through the trees, and inside, a father watched over his son. Not as a millionaire, not as a businessman, but as a man who had finally learned what it meant to be whole. Before you go, take a deep breath. Think about that letter. Children don't heal where they were broken. But what if the one who sent it was never a stranger at all? What if it came from someone who once was broken and didn't want Ethan to make the same mistake? If that thought gave you chills, you're not alone. This may be the end of their story, but some stories stay with you long after the screen fades. So, like this video if it moved you, share it if you believe healing is possible, and subscribe, because next time, a new story begins. One that just might change the way you see the world. Until then, stay kind, stay curious, and keep watching.